Hello, welcome to another episode of the show. This one is a bench update. So the format of this will basically be after I've finished blabbing, we'll go down to the bench and I'll show you what I've recently been working on. That's revolving around the 22 SAS figures that for the Falklands that I've been working on. And also some 28mm World War II buildings. A few other little bits and bobs, but we'll shove them on and you can have a look. So go down to the bench now. Right, so bench update, now we're down here. These four guys at the front are finished. So what I thought I'd do is show you these and then briefly go over how I paint DBM. So this first guy here, the lead, I'll just bring it up and see if you can the way basically that I do, I've done them all in DBM. There was some suggestion that they wore the Chairman Mao pants, which were the quilted green nylon over trousers, the winter things. But I'm happy to do them all in DBM. This is obviously the patrol leader with AR-15. Trooper with an SLR. GPMG gunner. And this guy here with the M16 M203 combination. Nice figures to paint, the Liberation miniatures by RH Models. Right, so put those to one side. So there's quite a few people asked us about DBM. It's and how to paint it. I think with any camouflage patterns, the best way to go about it is to try and capture the look of the camouflage. Obviously, in smaller scale figures, if you paint the camouflage, the actual colours, it tends to be very dark and basically it does what it's supposed to do and the figures just blend in. You can't really see what they're supposed to be wearing. So I thought I'd give you a slight rundown. So this first figure here, this is obviously the unpainted casting. The way I tend to do my figures in 20mm is I'll attach the figure to the base, put whatever grit or sand I've used, and dry brush up the base first before the figure's sort of been primed, and you can see the dry brushing's gone halfway up the figure's legs. The reason I tend to do this is, although I like maybe there's a little bit of dirt on the boots of a figure, I don't want it so that basically the figure completely obscured with the dry brushing from the base. So that's why I tend to do the bases first. So that's basically, in my system for DBM, that's step one. What I then do is undercoat the figure in black. Any black will do. I use mainly Vallejo, so that's the 950 black. Just obviously take care round where the figure joins the terrain, so you can see that's this is a GPMG gunner, fully blacked in. Sometimes you're much better doing one or two thin coats than one big thick one, because that obviously tends to obscure the detail. And that's the figure primed. What I then go on to with this colour, which is Vallejo 921 English uniform, is I'll block the uniform colours in. And that's what I've done here. Basically completely block the uniform colours in. You can see that I've left obviously the weapon, equipment, weapons, flesh areas, hands and boots in the matte black. What I also try and do, it sometimes can be a little bit difficult, is if I'll leave maybe a black border around the junctions of the jacket and the trousers, major seams, and obviously things like pockets, like you can see here. So that's the colour, the English uniform blocked in. After that, I move on to this colour, which is USA uniform. You can see I've had this one for a little while. 92 something, as you can see. I'm not sure of the exact code. However, what I would say is that there's a link in the video description to the DPM tutorial on my blog, which has obviously got photos and obviously these colours listed. So the USA uniform, what basically you're doing, DPMs, obviously, temperate DPMs, obviously sandy beige base, swirls of green and brown, and then much smaller sort of thin swirls of black. So this is the first green that I've put on USA uniform, and it's that sort of proportion. For pattern wise, the best thing to do, if you've got an actual garment, that's great. If not, obviously the internet, DPM camo, and it'll come up straight away. When you paint this on, you don't have to worry about sort of going over the equipment and what have you. Try to avoid the seam lines. Obviously you're going to re-black the equipment in at the end, so it doesn't matter massively if you're a little bit untidy. What you're trying to do is just capture the look of the camouflage pattern. Next colour up, bit of a favourite of mine, 822 German camouflage, black brown, usual for all sorts of things. So with the German cam black brown, you're painting the brown areas of the camouflage on. You can see how I've done this. Again, don't worry too much about slightly going over the equipment, because you're going to be tidying that up later on. So that's where we are then. The next colour is 847 dark sand, and this is the one that I tend to think makes the uniform and the camouflage pattern sort of pop and gets you're starting to get the look. So dark sand, what you're doing with that is basically highlighting the base coat. So you're highlighting the where you've painted the English uniform, but obviously not the green or the brown. So if you look at that, you can see how this starts to give the uniform its characteristic pattern. Just taking your time, thin brush, and obviously just highlight the brown bits, the tops of seams, the English uniform bits rather, tops of seams, things like that, and you're just trying to make the uniform pop and give it its character a little bit. What we move on to then is we're going to highlight the green areas, and for that I use 886 green grey. Maybe it's a little bit difficult to see on this one. So with this, all you're doing is you're highlighting the green areas just to give the camouflage a little bit more depth. And then we're obviously moving on to the brown areas. So for this, you use 984 flat brown, and you're going to highlight the brown areas. So that's the areas where you've painted the 822 German camouflage brown. And you can see how that's progressing there. And the last thing you're going to do is obviously black. So your Belligio 950 black. What you're doing here is you're trying to get the characteristic very fine sort of black squiggles on the camouflage pattern. I tend to do that first. You obviously need a thin brush, and you've got to keep the paint not thick but not too thin, just so that it flows well. When I've done that, what you can then do is re-black the equipment in. If you've got any splashes, the weapon, obviously the boots, and the flesh areas. And that is basically it. A little bit Can be a little bit long-winded, but it's, you know, it is doable. It's just taking your time. Not quite sure what happened there. Anyway, we'll get back into it. So that's the state of play when it's finished. So you've got all the colours on. You're trying to get the look of the camouflage rather than anything else. And then after you've done your black squiggles, re-blacken the equipment in and tidying the figure up, ready for the next stage, which would obviously, in this case, would obviously be the weapon, and then going on the boots and the flesh. So that's where we are with that. As I've said, there is a link in the description that takes you to my blog DPM tutorial. Okay, onwards and upwards. Right, so just in keeping with the SAS theme of this episode, I've recently picked this up. I've been corresponding with Tony Shaw, the author. He's an ex-D Squadron guy. This is, I think, imminently being published. I got this copy directly off the author a little while ago. He's sort of signed it, really nice guy. Chock full of information. The book's based around his diary that he kept during the conflict. Really, really good. Definitely worth getting a copy if you're at all interested in the conflict. Chock full of information. Really, really good. Definitely worth it. Worth keeping your eyes open for. Right, so me and my son got a recent order from Empress. We saw that they'd released the Paul Hicks sculpted World War II tank crews. They've done a British tank crew and pixie suits, US tank crew. These ones here are the German ones, so I've just sort of received these quite recently. I thought we'd have a look at them. Really, really nice. This is, well, like an officer figure. The German stuff that I've got, obviously late war SS, so my intention's to paint these as SS. Paul's sculpted them as army. This guy with the cap on. In the centre, you can see the national cockade, and there's a couple of the sort of scrambled egg things either side of it. All I've obviously. When I paint these as SS, they're going to have the eagle on and then the death's head in the centre of the hat band. So all I've basically done is cut off the scrambled egg. You probably can't really see it, although you can see it's a little bit shinier, and just filed it smooth, and I'll just paint the insignia on. Quite nice figure. Obviously pistol, waist belt, holster. Do that as a sort of a worn leather. He's got what I could possibly do is sort of a leather jacket, and I'm thinking maybe it's camouflage or winter pants. So that's the first one. Really nice sculpt as normal. Second guy here, sort of waving someone forward. He's got an MP40 hooded jacket, which will be no problem at all to do it as SS, and a peaked cap on. So he should convert no problems at all. The other two are in side caps. This is quite an interesting sculpt. He's obviously got the side cap on, but he has the armoured crew jacket on, but his trousers look like some sort of winter ones. Got cross belts on, holding them up, and he's also got a belt tied around, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I'll have to have a little think. I'll consult. I've got quite a good book on Waffen-SS camouflage uniforms. I'll have a look at that and see if there's a solution in there. And finally, this guy sort of crouching, just really nice, ideal for down beside the vehicle when the crew bail out. Really nice sculpts. Paul Hicks up to his normal standard. And this is the book I've just mentioned. I've had it for a few years. Michael Beaver and Jeff Borsarello. It's a Schiffer book. Really, really useful publication. Absolutely chock full of basically colour photos, all sorts of information. Sort of ideal really for this sort of thing. It was quite expensive, I think, at the time I bought it, but it's been worth it over the years. Really good. So this is what I'll be using. Do a little bit of research for the Paul Hicks figures. And this is the other thing that I've sort of been working on at the moment. Me and Alex, probably 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe even longer, went to a show, local show, and there was a guy there selling 3D printed sort of Normandy-ish buildings, 28mm. Probably only need 3 for the skirmish level games we have. I bought them. They were really, really cheap. I think I paid a tenner a building or something like that. They're obviously come apart. When I got them home, however, I looked at them and I had a bit of an issue with the print lines. You can obviously see them a little bit here. And initially I thought it's no good. It's going to agitate us. They're sort of quite rough and what have you. Anyway, it got to a stage where I thought, I'm just going to put them on eBay, just get rid of them, and I'll either look at MDF or scratch building them. Or I did a few years ago, missed out on some of the Grand Manor resin Carentan buildings, which I think are out of production now. However, they were sort of horrifically expensive. Anyway, I did little bits of this. This is an MDF base. I'm going to have a garden at the back, blue craft foam pavement. I've started work on one, and what I'm basically after are people's thoughts, whether they think I can get away with them or not. So if you bear with us 1 second, and I'll show you where we're at with the one I've been working on. This is the one I've been working on, which is obviously a ruined one. Painted it up. It's not finished yet. There's other bits and bobs that I need to do. I'm just not sure. So I'd really be interested in people's opinion. The other thing that I thought, which is probably a valid point, am I going to spend ages and ages and ages fannying on with buildings when these ones are sort of reasonably presentable? So I'd like to know what people think. I'll obviously put a photo. I'll probably get this finished over the next couple of days. It's just really the garden and some tidying up work I need to do on the inside of the structure. I'd be interested to know what people think. So write your views, obviously, on the video. Let us know what you think. Okay, cheers. Right, so that's where we are at the moment. As normal, if you've enjoyed the video, please like it. If you haven't subscribed, definitely worth subscribing. You can do that either through the title page on the channel or by looking for the subscribe button, which is at the end of the video, bottom right hand corner, disguised as a modern Empress British infantryman. Up next, I'm going to probably continue, I think, with the Falklands theme. I'm wanting to do a scenario around the attack on Pebble Island. Consequently, I've been collecting some 1/72 scale aircraft as targets for the raid. It is a temptation to go whole hog and obviously try to copy it in 20mm. That's not practical. 14 or 15 aircraft on a table, I would need a 12-foot long table, so that's not going to happen. So what I decided and what I've acquired are I've got 2 Bukharas, a Turbo Mentor, and a short Skyvan. So there'll be 5 target aircraft, and I'll just shrink the scenario a little bit. So I'm quite looking forward to starting work on those. It's been a long time since I've built an aircraft kit, so I'll have to look at a few of the YouTube channels just to get me skills up to scratch. So that's where we are, and that's probably the way I'll be heading next. So as I normally say, thank you very much for watching. Any queries, any questions, just post them on the video and I'll do my best to answer them. See you next time. Thanks very much.